Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? My name is Denonu, and with this video here, we're going to be talking about the movie Infinite. I just saw this early today, and I completely kind of forgot about it. I remember seeing the trailer for it, 2 or 3 weeks ago, something like that, and I was like, okay, this looks pretty cool, I'll check it out when it came out. And so then when it dropped, I was like, oh crap, I forgot all about that movie. So I checked it out, and I'm gonna try to keep things as spoiler free as possible. But basically the premise of the movie is Mark Wahlberg, I forget what was his name in the movie, Treadway or something like that, and he is basically, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's in the trailer if you guys have checked out the trailer, but he's basically a reincarnated person. So apparently in this world, there are certain people out there who basically reincarnate from life to life to life. They're not necessarily immortal, but they keep their previous life's memories. So every time he dies and gets reincarnated, kind of like mutants, once they hit puberty, they pretty much get to a point where they start remembering all of their previous lives, and it's like one big kind of sequence. They can remember everything that they learned in any previous life, and that's what the premise of the movie is about. Some people agree to help mankind, and then you have I'm gonna butcher his name. Was it Chiwetel Ejiofor? But the black guy on the screen on the right. Love him as an actor, can never pronounce his name. But he's on the other side of the spectrum where he's certain, his group of people, they want to, let's say, stop people from reincarnating and stuff like that. So they have a plan to basically destroy all life on the planet, and Mark Wahlberg's people have to try to stop him. It's pretty much it. Without, jumping into spoilers and whys and hows and that kind of sort of thing. So half of the movie is getting the audience up to speed with the whole concept, and that's how Mark Wahlberg's character is learning things throughout the movie, and is, a lot of exposition. But I will say this, it's tastefully done. It's not completely ham-fisted. They give you tons of action scenes and stuff right away. I'm talking about within the first 5 seconds of the movie is a good chase sequence. And then it kind of jumps you into Mark Wahlberg's character 10-15 minutes in, and then he gets his own action scene, and then that's when he learns oh, okay, so there's more to whatever's going on. He's learning it as the audience is learning it, essentially. And then it kind of jumps into, once he's on board with things, then it jumps into the plot of the movie, and they have to try to stop. I forget what they called him in the movie, but it was a B something. What was his name in the movie? It's something like Bernstadt or something. But Chiwe's character, the black guy on the movie there, his whole organization, they're super rich. Well, I guess both of them actually. Both organizations are super rich because they've been living since the beginning of human history, essentially. Well, not living in that kind of way, but mentally, I guess you could say they've been living. So some of them, they have this advanced tech, like the car you seen in the movie trailer there. That car has all this super armored tech built into it. I think they had a scene where she was driving the car, and she was like, "Oh, drive the car," or take over the wheel or something like that. The steering wheel retracted into the dash and then appeared on his side. So they use their advanced, mental facilities, I guess you could say, to hoard advanced technology and use it for themselves and things like that. And they're just trying to, I guess, improve mankind at its own pace, and the other side wants to get rid of it. But the movie itself was pretty decent. It was kind of fast-paced. It doesn't have time to take itself slowly, to let things sit, because you have to get to that halfway point where it's okay, now that you understand the concept, now we can get on with what the movie's about. So I was kind of expecting it to be fast. And I don't know if this is a plus or a minus, but it reminded me a hell of a lot of Jumper. Jumper was a movie that came out, I want to say around 2006 or 2008, something like that. That had, I forget what the guy's name, but I think it had Anakin Skywalker from the prequel trilogy, and it had Samuel Jackson as the antagonist in that. And this feels like, and I can't say I like it or I hate it, but it feels like this movie, and I think it's made off of a book called like the Reincarnists Papers or something like that. So I know this isn't made just by like a Hollywood scriptwriter, but this movie feels like you took the movie Jumper, and I'm not sure if Jumper was made off of anything. I'm assuming it was, but this feels like if you took Jumper and took the basic concept and instead of it being about people who teleport and then people who hunt them, it's more like, okay, let's change that to reincarnated people and the people who hunt them. You know, it feels incredibly similar. You have a white main lead on one side and a black main lead on the other. You know, it has the same kind of sort of look to the movie too, where you can tell by looking at it that they didn't drop like $200 or $300 million to make this movie. It just doesn't feel that, feel that epic. It feels kind of like they had $150 million and they had to make a movie, and the tone kind of stays there. I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, I like Infinite. I like the movie for what it is, but the scope of the movie and kind of the story and way it played out, it was very similar to how Jumper was, because that was the same kind of sort of thing. And Jumper, the main character, learned he can teleport, and then it got to like the halfway point in the movie where he fell in love with this one chick, and then you had Samuel Jackson chasing him the whole movie trying to kill him. In this, it was kind of sort of the same thing with Mark Wahlberg, where Chiwetel's character was chasing Mark Wahlberg because he knew something, and he knew where the ancient MacGuffin, well, not the ancient MacGuffin, but basically they had this bomb that was going to eradicate all of mankind, essentially. And he knew where, he had the crucial piece of it, or knew where it was. So that's why he was chasing them all throughout the movie and things like that. And it's a damn good movie, but I wouldn't put it in the same vein of like, this isn't one of those movies where you go in and you know it's going to be like that Christopher Nolan type movie experience, where it's going to be like one of the greatest set pieces you saw or the greatest movie you saw this year. Definitely not that. This feels in the same vein of Mark Wahlberg's other recent movies. Another one he did that I like, what was it called? Mile 44, Mile 43, something like that. It feels in the same vein of that, where it's like, look, we have a concept, we just want to make a decent action movie. If it makes money, it makes money. That's what it feels like to me, and that's not a bad thing. I like this movie. It's just that to me, the concept of it reminds me a hell of a lot of Jumper and that movie that came out on Netflix. What was it called? The Old Guard, about the immortal people. Take those two movies, mix them together, and that's what this feels like. And it's not a super great concept, but there's a lot you can do with it. By them, the Old Guard is more along the lines of straight up immortality. So that's going to get old as you progress. At least in Infinite, you can pretty much have new characters and new actors in it if you're going to make sequels and stuff like that. I don't know if they're going to make a sequel to this movie. They kind of end it in I guess you could say, a weird place. I mean, they could always make a sequel to it, because the characters, like I said, if you kill them, they will come back, in another person's body. So it's just that you have to wait, until that person grows up, to remember and stuff like that. So they could necessarily do it. And that's how they actually end the movie. I don't want to spoil anything, but they have a character come back at the end, and it's the last 5 seconds. So they could make a sequel. They can make a few sequels, actually, based on what they establish here. And I just don't know if they're going to do that, because I don't know how well the movie's going to do, honestly. But as a standalone, it was decent. It was good. The sci-fi part of it kind of hooked me. I like the way Mark Wahlberg handled his character. It was decent to see him in something a little bit different than what I usually watch him in, because usually he's kind of I don't want to call him B-rate, but he's kind of like a B-rate action movie guy. You know, like after he did Transformers, that seems like if it's either a B-rate action or he's in a comedy, like the one with the bear or something else like that. So it's like he like bounces forth, bounces between those kind of genres. And I like him in these B-rate kind of sort of action movies. Like I liked Mile 40, was it Mile 43? I like that incredibly a lot. I love that movie. I hate how that movie never got a sequel. But if they were to give him a sequel in this, I don't know how they can do it based on how the movie plays out. I don't want to spoil anything, but I mean, if they could somehow bring him back, I mean, I don't know how you could, but if they could somehow do it and make it work, or let's say and bring in somebody else as the main lead and have him be a cameo in it or something, if they could somehow make it work, then I'd probably like this a hell of a lot more. Hell, I mean, you can even I don't know if they can make deals with Netflix like that, because I think this is made by Paramount, and I know The Old Guard was made by I think that was straight up Netflix. But if you could somehow merge universes and you had just straight up immortal people along with people who reincarnate, that'd be cool too. Like, I would love it if they could work a deal and you can do a movie with both of these teams in it and stuff like that, because that would be pretty cool. But just to wrap up here, the movie was damn good. It was entertaining all the way throughout. It didn't really have a whole lot of boring parts in it. Like I said, it was kind of fast paced, so they kind of kept up the pace of the action. The only time when it really slowed down is, I guess you can say, towards Act 2. They give a few exposition moments where Mark Wahlberg is learning the history about the group he's with and things like that. And then they have to go meet this other guy to go get something from him. And that's where it kind of slowed down until they got that thing, and then immediately jumped in with a really cool action scene. So the slow part definitely wasn't super slow, but they did have cool ways of doing things and showing that to the audience. So the movie was definitely worth watching. If I had to give it a rating per se, let's say my ratings don't mean anything, but let's say if I had to rate it out of a 10, like a 10 out of 10 or something like that, I'd probably give it a 7.5. It's cool. It's an entertaining movie. It's not gonna wow you in any kind of way. The action scenes may wow you because they do some really cool stunt work, and the way that they do certain scenes and stuff like that is pretty cool. But with saying that, it's nothing that you haven't seen before from other movies. Let me just say that. And if you can get your mind around the concept that they explain for half the movie about reincarnated people and stuff like that, because that may turn off some people because it's such a weird concept. You have to kind of ease somebody in with that, So if you're one of those kind of people who think the concept is cartoonish and cheesy, they take it super seriously in this movie. It's not a comedic thing that they use it for. So if that just is going to turn you off to begin with, then you're probably not going to like the movie, because that is the movie. But if you're somebody that can watch the movie and just turn off your mind a little bit to that weird kind of reincarnation type concept, and just watch a decent sci-fi action thriller, then I would say, yeah, definitely check this out. It's definitely not bad. The cast is good too. I forgot to mention that. They each hold their own. There wasn't really any kind of super weak actors, in my opinion. I even like Mark Wahlberg's little team of people, the people that he interacts with, that's on, let's say, his crew of infinites, because that's what they call the immortal reincarnation people. They were pretty cool too. They had this old lady who, and maybe this was the inspiration for the character I'm about to mention, but what was her name from Incredibles? Edna, the woman who would, let's say, design all of the costumes. The lady who was like no capes. They had this character who looked just like that lady, except she had gray hair instead of black hair. And I was like, you know what? Maybe they took inspiration and made, because she was like their tech person. So I was like, you know what? Maybe they took, Edna and just made her a character. But I liked her character a lot. And everybody else was pretty much stereotypes and that kind of sort of thing. If I had to pick one thing about the movie that, let's say, I would have wanted to see fleshed out on, they didn't really fully explain Chiwetel Ejiofor's character motivation. They kind of explain it as a way of like he lost faith. So he lost faith in what the other infinites were believing in, and instead of, let's say, believing in we should use our reincarnation and our knowledge to further mankind, he just wanted to die. He didn't want to be reincarnated over and over and over again. So I wish that they would have explained that a little bit more as far as like why he got to that point. Because he was working with Mark Wahlberg's people, let's say, before the movie. And then like a couple hundred years later, he switched sides. So they didn't show that switch. They kind of had a couple flashbacks of showing his character back in the day, but they never really fully explained like what happened to him. It was done a little bit better than Samuel Jackson's character in Jumper, but I remember even in Jumper, Samuel Jackson's character was just like, we believe in God, and it goes against God to give people the ability to teleport and shit. So he was just a zealot at that point. Chiwetel's character in this, he's a zealot, incredibly much, like very much so, as a matter of fact. But I wish they would have explained how he got to that point. But I guess if they did that, then you'd have had to cut out something else in the movie, and then, who knows how the movie would have changed at that point. But anyway, to wrap things up a second time, damn good movie. If you're into action movies, check it out. I think the next thing I'm probably going to do is, I know I got to check out Loki. Loki just dropped, I want to say yesterday. So I'm going to probably put this up tomorrow on Friday, and then probably put up Loki maybe Sunday or Monday. I still got to check that out and watch it, but judging from the trailers, Loki was my Marvel show, that the one I was most excited to watch outside of I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I've heard nothing but good things from that. I've heard some people say that they don't really like it all that much, but we're gonna watch it. We're gonna definitely do a episode 1 review of it. And if you guys want to see me do more of that, I don't mind pumping those out every week when they come out, because I'm assuming it's a weekly show just like the others. So we can definitely do that too. But anyways, fellas, my name is Denonu. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and I will see you in the next one. Later.